My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish, via evidence, and expose the existence of criminal surveillance, and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances, and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Holt and Vine Avenue, 5:36 a.m. All right, that is as clear evidence of targeting by the airport, where you have flown miles away from an airport where no planes are going to be heard taking off. And not only is it heard, it's loud. And this is the entity that's engaging in what is flying over my head and doing so. This is a documented pattern. And this is capturing it on podcast while the entity, as you can hear, 7PH 7787, I believe, engages in sexual assault and battery. That's the people of the state. So this is Emporia Place. Gang stalkers, the entire pump, that's John Stewart Company. That's going to be federally prosecuted while the government is hovering over that apartment complex stalking me. And so is that apartment complex. And Vos Church, where I'm located in relevant position, the venue where the government's engaged in what is stalking and doing so as a venue that is also right here where I'm subject to the P.O.C. The people of the state are using that venue, and the people of the state are going to be prosecuted as the pattern of conduct is underway outside of business hours, operating hours, as I've shown you the pattern of conduct. And that's the pattern of conduct that's right now at 5:36 a.m. where the government is gang stalking, doing so at the Star Auto Care, and doing so at the auto glass, the Gator auto glass. This is the intersection where the entity is monitoring, where no plane activity is going to be heard. And it's as indicative and clear probative evidence of targeting as helicopter activity that moreover is not only heard, because it's the evidence of what is the helicopter activities attributed to the government. And moreover, my documentation is showing the helicopter activity is persistent, continuous, meaning the helicopter is not even going anywhere. And that is more evidence of what is targeting, and targeting me, the one that's recording it. And of course, that's why I'm recording it, because it actually is an ongoing pattern of conduct. The entities engaging in this at Hope Boulevard, like I stated, and Vine, and doing so while they are monitoring literally as I'm walking, and the demon possessed are hostile even as I am recalling all of the damning evidence that I accumulate on a daily basis. But even as I accumulate that and recall it, which requires that you were already stalking in a plane. You were already there, creeping inconspicuously, like those that need to be put in mental institutions, which they're going, okay? But the entity's pattern of conduct is, as you say something or you recall anything or say you rejoice, oh man, that was such a good video of Darren stalking me in San Bernardino, man. Man, that's some awesome evidence that's going to be really effective in court to prove this point right here within the pattern of conduct. The entity is immediately stalking by a plane flying over the top of your head, okay? That's what the demons are doing while they're stalking using commercial airline companies. That's somebody that's highly unstable, and that somebody represents an entity of unstable people who are all devoted together, stalking, using their time, not sleeping, making sure that they remain where? Outside, because I'm outside. So that means the entity is maintaining traffic 24 hours a day. The entity is maintaining presence under all circumstances 24 hours a day. This is the entity that's doing so not outside of what is any normalcy or any sort of sane means, while they try to do so in the grocery store, and you're mindful of the pattern of conduct and all the ways in which they're engaged in the pattern of conduct, including like what you're listening to, which is commercial planes over the intersection where there's no flight scheduled, and also where no flights that are engaging in any takeoffs or arrivals at the airport in Ontario, California, are going to be heard, interrupting anyone's phone call, competing with anyone's voice, providing or creating any public nuisance at this location, which is within a very heavily documented pattern of conduct. They have done so under the fake sun that's hovering evidence while they are engaged in what is not just one plane, but many planes, which is psychopathic pacing, while they are at a low hovering elevation, all manner of the provision of evidence. And that's what the entity is doing while they are stalking me. And they're also stalking pursuant to what it is that they are hostile with. And that is also evidence that causes further rejoice. Because not only do I celebrate the evidence that I have against Darren, for example, but the entity is engaged in what is stalking that's retaliatory in nature, like what Michael is doing in Fontana, flying in circles repeatedly as I'm referring to evidence of him targeting and the evidence of his mental illness, while he continuously engages in targeting by flying in circles over me, which is what the demon possessed, who are the mentally ill, practice as a documented pattern of conduct while they are failing and secretly trying to conspire my murder. But it is revealing what this government is doing to innocent American citizens, innocent insofar as the government has no basis under the law, under any circumstances, including via and with the people of the state, to conspire to murder American citizens and then stalk them like this obsessed entity does, as I'm showing you, like at 5:36 in the morning in a commercial plane. And that's supposed to be confused with legitimate business. And it's not. This is the entity that's speaking to the fact that the airport is a criminal waste of expenditure in the city of Ontario. And it is also a national security threat, and is a basis to remove it altogether, based on the fact that Erica Lorraine Spencer is the one, myself, that's been subject to stalking. And everything that the city of Ontario used to keep me under surveillance, it's losing. That's everything. Okay, I just want to be clear, and this is speaking to what is the massive loss regarding all the means of funding terrorism, which is the Ontario International Airport and these commercial airline companies. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:42 a.m., where the demon-possessed cannot contain their frustration, and I exploit it for your benefit, for all of the witnesses to understand and look at the reality of what Satan is. And how he causes those who follow him very foolishly to ultimately regret it, which is always the case. Satan is a liar, he's a counterfeit, and he makes it seem as though it's something other than that it is something that can be successful, it is something that that can be beneficial. You just have to do it right, you just have to understand what's going on, you just have to make sure that you are engaging in what is it, and there's no such thing. There's no such thing. You follow Satan, you're going to burn in hell with him. And what you're witnessing with regard to what is a physical means of judgment to illustrate what is inevitable, spiritually speaking, you're going to be prosecuted. This is P.O.C. It is April 26, 2026 at 5:43 a.m. All right, this is Stater Brothers parking lot. Stater Brothers, that's opening at 6 a.m. It is 6:02 a.m. And the entity is monitoring me as I am preparing to move and walk toward the entrance. Everyone inside of Stater Brothers is stalking and monitoring with an airport that's providing evidence of targeting while the airport is sounding planes. But more than sounding planes, the planes are visibly seen hovering and circling and cartwheeling, and in other words, stalking. And where the airport is stalking, the people of the state are stalking, and that's what Stater Brothers is doing. And I am at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, and their business hours are devoted to criminal surveillance, and that's the federal prosecution of the people of the state. They're doing so with the people, including license 8CFF011, who is parking inside of the venue to be on surveillance cameras, stalking with the rest of the people. And this is the entity that is engaging in that, and this is the prosecution of businesses like Stater Brothers that are not going to exist. Like, Stater Brothers is going to be removed. The thorough evidence of the years of surveillance and furtherance of murder, they're not even engaged. They're not engaged in legitimate baking, produce, the vending, everything that they're doing in the grocery store. All their operations are serving criminal activity. That's literally an entity that is revealing that the business doesn't need to exist. You're not even really interested in maintaining that business while you're using it to harass and stalk somebody else. Where you engage in even neglecting that business, if it serves the pattern of conduct, that's exactly what Stater Brothers, the people of the state, will do. And not moreover, Stater Brothers isn't going to exist because I'm going to prosecute it and make sure it doesn't exist. But this is the basis of prosecuting domestic terrorists such as Stater Brothers. And this is, again, the documentation of the evidence, the documentation which is, in substance, the evidence of the government stalking. It's telling on what business is engaging in that system that's engaged in other words, surveillance, and the benefit of everything that that business provides, such as their names, such as the necessity of using their business records. It's going to be a very seamless prosecution because the businesses are engaged in surveillance. It is a matter of public corruption, and the answers are in plain view. None of that is mysterious, and you are aware of the malicious purpose of everything concerning that business. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:04 a.m. This is the Ontario Village Shopping Center. It's not just Stater Brothers. Starbucks across the street. They're inside of 706 West Holt. They're gang stalking. They're doing so on the roads and the highways. Omnitrans is a business pacing up and down the street. Golden Bear Hotels across the street, that's a business they're stalking. This is the entity is maintaining surveillance. I'm using the venue where I'm at. That's clearly engaged in what I document, vagina monitoring, and so is every other business. It's a matter of public corruption. The state is keeping my vagina under surveillance via the third-party actor, Stater Brothers, and that's why businesses shall cease to exist. And this is leading to what is the recovery, the discovery of abundance of resources, where a government claims that they need money for this and they need assistance for that. No, they don't. They need to stop surveilling. All right. And this is the entity that's going to lose. All those officials are being removed, and corrupt businesses like Stater Brothers are going to cease to exist. And they're also going to compensate American citizens that they terrorize. This is P.O.C. license 1VEN454 serial stalker. Want to make sure I document him. Engaged in serially stalking me with Stater Brothers. Noted. P.O.C. with the airport that you hear monitoring. And as I walk into the entrance on surveillance cameras, which I'm referencing, the entity is surrounding at the sushi bar. Okay, the Asian male, he's stalking while the airport is outside crossing path, and that's the malice behind everything that they're doing. Erica's at the register stalking while the entity is crossing path in the parking lot. That's the malice regarding what they're engaging in. P.O.C. Morning, Erica. Buenos dias. That's all stalking. All right, this is an example of businesses that are going to cease to exist. I'm going to prosecute them. They're domestic terrorists. P.O.C. This is demonic, including while he does the symbolism on the forehead, on the chest, and across both shoulders, and the demonic environment where false religion is practiced. And it is the State's Church. This is P.O.C. This is St. George Catholic Church. Impossible light on the ceiling, impossible light on the wall, impossible light in front of me, impossible light on the floor. It is currently 9:27 a.m. These are demons congregating and calling themselves, associating themselves with the Catholic religion. And this is absolutely impossible light activity. And it's in furtherance of murdering me with the government. This is in the shade. These are demons. And here's the fake sun. Absolutely impossible, inexplicable engineer light. And this is the fake sun. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the so-called St. George. Here's more impossible light back here. They're monitoring, criminal monitoring. Demonic spirits are monitoring. Not Christ followers. Alright, this is P.O.C. with minor children. Graven images. Alright. The demon possessed refer to God, refer to Christ, and they're actually referencing Satan. Just so that you know, this is P.O.C.
And leads us on the right path. The Good Shepherd is the gate. Let us live with courage and conviction, not fear and timidity. Through valleys and storms, chaos and confusion, threats and concerns, the Shepherd comforts us with power and strength, love and compassion, hope and peace. The Good Shepherd is the gate. Let us worship in the presence of the Holy One. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our life. Let us dwell in God's presence forever. Well, I should have put our all strengthened in grace and rooted in faith for your glory and your blessed community come. Amen. Our first song today is Savior Like a Shepherd Lead Us.
Holy Feast. This is where we meet the risen Christ. Pour out your Holy Spirit upon us and upon these gifts. Bless this bread and cup, and bless us that we may be raised and restored in the knowledge that nothing can separate us from the love of God. Give us the strength to follow when we hear you call us by name to the service of our family in Christ. And now please join me in prayer, the one that we've been taught. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
This is P.O.C.
Alrighty, this is Southwest Airlines, and Ontario International Airport, that's what that is, okay? Having no business with regard to the zoning, with regard to the location of the airport, with regard to even the time of day, where the entity is maintaining flights, hovering, flying miles away in order to be over here at that elevation. And Southwest Airlines is doing so while City Hall is shown to be engaged in the pattern of conduct, not only by the Stalking by Southwest and the entity, which is Ontario International Airport, under the fake sun. And this is as I walk over here while the people of the state, Metro 102 apartments, downtown Ontario luxury apartments are maintaining activities, stalking in the path with their hazard lights on. They are crossing path and scrambling like roaches as the entity, again, anticipates. I'm going to pull up my phone. I'm going to document while they are stalking in the path, anticipating my arrival. You see the stalker in perfect alignment? Crowd, he's monitoring with a minor child. That's what he's doing. You see the demon with the headlights behind? These are demons that are engaging in psychopathic pacing along what is D Street, D as in dog. This is Paul Leon's prosecution. This is already complete. This is just showing there is no avenue for rebutting or contradicting what has been a surefire prosecution for Paul Leon to be prosecuted as my stalker and a co-conspirator of my murder. And the entity itself is prosecuting him. Exhibit A. This is P.O.C. This is that which is not published on the on the website. And Alaska Airlines maintains no flight into Honolulu or into any other state where they are over the 303 East B Street, Ontario City Hall. And this is where the entity is doing so, remember, because they're flying over the senior center, this building right here, while I'm at the library, which is on the opposite side of the senior center. The entity is clearly engaged in what is relevant positioning, very particular with regard to where I'm located. More indication that Paul Leon is a stalker. And everybody, including Alan D. WAPNER, a stalker who is also aware of the ongoing deviation of the commercial airline planes who are in the city of Ontario gang stalking me. And they're going to be prosecuted as terrorists. And the entity is engaging in what is ongoing criminal activities showing a level of malice and impunity while in the course of this video engaging in stalking before the world, who are all watching how the gang stalking criminal system has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt on the internet and to a scientific degree. Okay, not Honolulu. There's no flights over the Ontario City Hall. There's no takeoff where that elevation is ongoing, where that public nuisance is going to occur. This is where the entity has the fake sun and is also doing so while I am showing you the fake sun that's still over me as I've captured into the evening, into the latter part of the afternoon. Remember my documentation in early March, where this entity excluded me. The Ontario City Hall that's gang stalking me excluded me from the City of Ontario Library. This is P.O.C. This is the pattern of conduct, and this is directly referring to the prosecution for Paul Leon. The mayor, that's actually a domestic terrorist. He's an enemy amongst us, and he has conspired my murder, an American citizen that has a right to not be targeted by a government official in the city. And he's enabling the airport, enabling the fire department, enabling the police department, funding this terrorism while he keeps my vagina under surveillance. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 12:58 p.m. And this is the entity that's maintaining the pattern of conduct in Fontana at the same time. How is it going to be over me in Fontana, outside of the window at 2 o'clock in the afternoon over the Spring Street and Sierra, where I'm present at that same intersection at 8:35 in the morning? How? Because Paul Leon's a stalker. He's a demon. And this is a facilitating venue where criminal activity is underway. That's how you have that. Because in the natural environment, it's impossible. And it's also impossible that Florida, for example, will ever see what is the sun. The single exclusive light source that I'm showing doesn't go anywhere. It remains over me from start till end of the day, which is where Alaska Airlines and Southwest Airlines are stalking. This is P.O.C.
This is Union Pacific as the use of light activity, amplified audible activity. This is P.O.C. And this is Union Pacific using the Metrolink train station for the pattern of conduct. I also want to be clear, the entity uses also, Metrolink deviates from its published schedule in order to monitor me as well. This train station is utilizing the City of Fontana is gang stalking with, Union Pacific under the fake sun at what is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 2:10 p.m. And the entity is maintaining this light source over me where the fake sun is still here in the evening, where Metrolink is gang stalking and the fake sun still over me at the same City of Fontana Metrolink train station where this employee is monitoring. This is Omnitrans. He's gang stalking. He's engaged in federal stalking. This is the City of Fontana. This is this particular employee, 4068. Or 4069, this African-American male, and he's engaged in what is a pattern of conduct. I get off of this bus and the fake sun no longer sits over it's over me. All right, and this is Union Pacific that's engaged in surveillance throughout the state. The city of Ontario, the city of Pomona, Las Vegas, Nevada. Union Pacific is gang stalking me by using the trains in order to engage in the pattern of conduct. And literally the fake sun over me through the vehicle, my window vehicles in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Union Pacific is audible activity, relevant positioning, and using the train lines to do so. This is P.O.C. This is the city that's targeting you. That's criminal monitoring. And using the train lines, that's speaking to what is a threat to the public that Metrolink poses. You're talking about, and what Union Pacific poses while they're engaging gang stalking me. It is a threat to the public. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 2:11 p.m. This is showing where the pattern of conduct is underway, as I'm showing you through the transit lines, as I'm showing you the people of the state on the roads and the highways, as I'm showing you the commercial airline companies, even the helicopters, where the entities engage in what are the channels of interstate commerce, is what this is. The ways in which we are transporting. This is getting to what is malice. All right, so you're talking about what is terrorism underway by this entity that's targeting me in these same manners. And this is how we are told about accidents, tragic accidents, where large amounts of people are hurt at the same time. This is exposing malice, where those same channels of interstate commerce are put in play where American citizens are being threatened in ways that they don't know about. This is speaking to what is not necessary in order to remain in existence. No company, all right, no means of what is existing as not only a corporate entity, but the government engaging in use of it, where it's waging what is this malicious guise of targeting, like what Union Pacific is doing, what Metrolink is doing, what the city of Fontana is doing, what the state of California is doing, while they're also making money off of it. This is a level of malice that threatens American citizens' safety. For them to gang stalk me is to threaten your life and take your life and then call it an accident, and it is not. Okay, this is Fontana stalking under the fake sun. This is the same location where they are present in the morning when I get off the same bus and the fake sun is over me, while the employees that are hostile, because I'm documenting them, and they're engaging in what are gang stalking with Fontana police who are crossing paths. You're going to refer to that documentation because those gang members are getting disbanded. Remember, they earned it. Gang members are getting disbanded that are calling themselves police departments. This is domestic terrorism that's not going to be tolerated in the U.S. This is on the roads and the highways. That's also getting to malice. This isn't traffic, it's surveillance, and they're stalking. They're not accidents. They are acts of terrorism, where mass amounts of people are hurt at the same time, like the Twin Towers in New York. Everybody remembers 9/11. It's the same pattern of conduct. We were told that they were foreign terrorists. We were attacked by an enemy outside of the jurisdiction of the U.S. But yet, within the U.S., I'm showing you domestic terrorism by our same government, by these same commercial airline companies. This is P.O.C. All right, so you are mindful of what Michael Dorsey is doing upon my exit of the venue while they're maintaining presence in the space to continue surveillance, right? This is the POC, and this is the bathroom that Dorsey's keeping under surveillance with what would be the appropriate legal title under the law would be sex offenders. Okay, POC. It's 4:48 p.m.
Alrighty, this is the pattern of conduct.
This is relevant to what would be associated with an airport, okay? In flight to a destination, going through the city of Ontario would be at a higher elevation. Landing at the Ontario International Airport is not hovering through the city of Fontana. It is also shown to be that while the fake sun is over me, and this is the same location where the fake sun is over me, at Arrow and Sierra, where the Fontana Police Department are also gang stalking, just like the commercial airline companies are, tracking my steps, which is the environment is indicative of, while they are stalking using commercial airline companies such as Delta, United, American, Amazon Prime Air, Southwest Airlines. They're doing so further into murder, and these are terrorists that are committing murder systematically. And they're doing so with the government that is feeding us propaganda, conditioning us with propaganda, which is also exercising what is spiritual warfare, witchcraft, because it's instilling fear when you hear about a plane crash, which is reported to you as an accident,
While I'm showing you the commercial airline companies are keeping us under surveillance, they're engaging in terrorism. That was a tactic of psychological torture. These are domestic enemies going under corporate entity names, and they're doing so as the government. They're not third-party private companies. These are acts of terrorism when they're reporting it to you on the news as an accident to be investigated, that they're trying to solve it, that they're trying to figure it out. This is the U.S. government that's engaged in warfare against American citizens. It is domestic terrorism. And this is the city of Fontana. Over. When you have the people of the state that are in any positions such as these are nameless, absolutely irrelevant. They're demons that are monitoring me, which is speaking to the fact that they are looking for attention. But these are demons that you could equate this with celebrities that come into the facilitating venue, any city in the U.S. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct. These demons are monitoring. Okay, so the entity that is, no matter whether they have talent or not, they're coming to a venue ostensibly to perform. They're performing for the people of the state. They're still engaging in the same elements of monitoring in the same specific environment, and they are gang stalking as well. This is letting you know what celebrities, this is letting you know what whatever type of status that the people of the state maintain, which is under the law absolutely irrelevant. It's teaching you about what Satan is doing. Satan is using everyone in the same exact manner. Okay, it is only you that is thinking because, oh, this is that person, or we're here at this place, or they have this position, that it's different, and it's not. There is no respecter of persons. The fake sun's not changing, it's not disappearing, the pattern of conduct does not cease, and the entity is relying on the fact that you are, number one, ignorant, and number two, impressionable, okay, affected, distracted. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is the entity that is equally tracking my steps. This is what the Fontana Police Department are doing, while the commercial airline companies are in Fontana gang stalking me, which is equally federal prosecution for Mr. Dorsey. He's a terrorist and he's not remaining in position. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the documentation, which would also be comparable to the documentation of Metrolink engaged in what is criminal surveillance using the train tracks as a means of surveillance while they're also making money. This is a federal RICO case against Metrolink. And there's years of evidence of Metrolink engaged in what is targeting me, doing so in the specific environment, which is the proof that Metrolink is a corrupt state actor. And they're engaged on it coincidentally, no, pursuant to the pattern of conduct of targeting with the people of the state. All these people Metrolink is aiding in, conspiring my murder, stalking me, and doing so and psychologically torturing me. And Metrolink is making a profit off of that. Metrolink is a co-conspirator of murder, that is a terrorist. And I'm going to prosecute Metrolink and the fact that they're engaging in that pattern of conduct with the city of Fontana. And they're doing so with regard to also surveillance of my evidence. And they're also targeting when they're operating within and without their published schedule, which I also documented. And they're also clearly doing so. Everyone knows that Omnitrans is gang stalking. That's not Sunlight. Not Sunlight. And Metrolink is monitoring to that. License 1653500 bus 1281. That's a demon. That's a business engaging in surveillance. These are the people of the state engaging in surveillance, and they're all facilitating each other's engagement and targeting me together. The trainer, this is light activity, relevant positioning while they're in traffic, and the fake sun is over me. This is P.O.C. And this is relevant to psychological torture while a population is targeting an American citizen. And corrupt businesses like Metrolink do not have any right or protection to remain in existence after I prosecute them. This is P.O.C. This is demonic also that Metrolink is engaging in. They're terrorists on those grounds as well. Satanic while the fake sun's over me, and Metrolink is engaging in the elements of monitoring with the demon-possessed Fontana Police Department, who are demons. Okay, that's what's behind Michael Dorsey flying in circles over me by helicopter, because they're demons. This is P.O.C. and the sun would not be at the Fontana Metrolink train station in the morning. That's also amplification. That's also how you know that they're demonic and it's terrorism. The train station, the train sound is being amplified right now. The entity is gang stalking planes. This is not landing in Ontario. This is not landing in Fontana. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in that conduct. And you have San Bernardino County Fire, who are mentally ill. They're not going anywhere while the train tracks are down. They're monitoring me, and they are doing so when they're triggered, and they engage in a panic when I start documenting and what it is that I'm stating. That's irrelevant. They're not remaining as a as a fire department. And that's also speaking to the police department. But the entities engaged in this, and the train sound is amplified in volume. All right, that would be a public nuisance as well. The train system, the train sound is not sounding inside of the library. This is the pattern as I've documented it. The entity is providing what is a means of massive surveillance for all the people of the state, and it's also harassment at a terrorizing level while the entity is stalking with amplified audible activity under the fake sun in engineered light with the government using fire trucks, planes, helicopters, while they're doing so with engineered light. Metrolink is a terrorist, and Metrolink is a gang stalking business, which is speaking to what is a prosecution under federal RICO as well. Okay, this is P.O.C. as I'm arriving, and this is what Union Pacific is using the train tracks for Metrolink to engage in gang stalking. All right, Union Pacific is engaging in the same elements of monitoring, different company names, same criminal pattern of conduct, same corrupt entity. And this is the city of Fontana that is a terrorist. This is P.O.C. Everybody's representing a communication device. Everybody in their homes representing communication devices while they're engaged in surveillance under the fake sun that would not be in a natural environment ever in Florida, because my evidence shows that I'm here in the morning where Allied Universal is harassing me, and I'm showing you in the evening it's still here at the same Fontana Metrolink train station. And that's a supernatural phenomenon where terrorists and sex offenders like Metrolink are thereby exposed, and I will prosecute you. This is P.O.C. This is McDonald's under the fake sun, where I'm standing at this entrance of this McDonald's at, I believe it's 9 a.m. under both circumstances, either circumstances, all, where not ATZP182 is gang stalking, where the bus driver's gang stalking, even the gang stalking demons that don't have anywhere to live are targeting, while the entity is maintaining audible activity and harassing me aboard this bus, where the fake sun's remaining over me as I'm at the same McDonald's that I'm at in the morning, where McDonald's is engaging in the pattern of conduct as that evidence shows. I will connect that evidence. This is speaking to what the state of California is engaging in, or Route 61, going to the city of Ontario, where the fake sun is not simultaneously sitting stationary over the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library, but it is remaining over me, which is speaking to the pattern of conduct that Omnitrans is engaging in, that the city of Fontana is engaging in, that the people of the state, that the people of the state on the roads and the highways, and this is a threat to your life. They're engaging in murder on the roads and the highways, not car accidents. While they're stalking, they're engaged in targeting. This is P.O.C. and the entity is keeping the fake sun over me while the entity is engaged in what is targeting with light, impossible light. It's 6:02 p.m. This is P.O.C. This is the Ontario police that are flying in circles around me, and they're following from the B Street intersection. So while I'm walking at the intersection over here, they're stalking. These are demons that are just openly engaging in what is focusing on me as I return to the city of Ontario. This is the entity that fully intends on being disbanded, and they're being joined by Fontana police. They are. And this is the entity that's engaged in flying in circles around me. This is the P.O.C. And you're also going to pay attention to when I'm here on the side of the Ovid Family Community Library, the entity has the fake sun shining. And the Ontario police are on video stalking while the fake sun has remained at the Ovid Family Community Library while I'm aboard Omnitrans, the video that you just listened to via podcast and that you just viewed for today on the playlist that's disbanding these stalkers that are obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with stalking, which is not accomplishing anything. They're mad because they're going to prison, and they're also going to prison even longer because while they're going to prison for stalking, the federal judge that's going to sentence them, including the demon that's operating this helicopter, they're going to produce their identity to me, and they're going to prison for prolonged periods because of their obsession with stalking somebody that prosecuted them, in furtherance of harassing because you're going to prison, and they're going to prison longer. Okay, this is the entity. I just want to be clear. The entity has the fake sun over me at the Ovid Family Community Library, where it's remaining over me at the Fontana Lewis Library, where the entity like AGS is competing with the fake sun like Securitas is, those stalkers that are calling themselves security guards, while the entity is exposing all the people of the state who are all going to prison because the Ontario police are already prosecuted. So what is their purpose in stalking me by helicopter the moment that I get off of a bus in the first place when you're already convicted? Because they're demons who sit around masturbating because they're bitter while they're anticipating masturbating in prison. Okay, if not for the rest of their lives, but you're talking about for a prolonged period. They're going to be next to dead by the time they get out. This is the entity that's engaged in that. That's a black helicopter flying in circles around me, focusing on me. And the entity is doing that with the people of the state. Mule Car, Smokehouse, El Bacone. Look at these demons in here because they're engaged in criminal monitoring.
These venues as well, these businesses, they're all engaged in state surveillance together. This is a community that's harassing, just like Michael Dorsey in the city of Fontana, just like Darren Goodman when I'm in the city of San Bernardino. And the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, stalking with commercial planes. And Mike LORENZ and Alan D. WAPNER, Michael GERKEN, these demons that are engaging in this flagrant means of prosecuting themselves at this point, when you're talking about what is just begging for to go to prison and lock and throw away the key, meaning you just don't want to get out because you're going to prison. They are going to federal prison. And this is the entity that's engaged in that level of what I find to be suicidal conduct. You really want to end it, and I'm going to be explicit because this is what the entity is doing, and this is speaking to what our demons these are losers. They are losers. You've been prosecuted on the internet. You're anticipating going to prison. They're going to be also impoverished. They're going broke. They're not keeping these companies. They're not keeping their positions, and they're not going to remain free. And the entity is merely using helicopters while the entity still has access to them, merely to harass me because I'm the one that accomplished that. This is at the Ontario Town Square, property that the government's not keeping. This is a waste of money and resources that's used for terrorism, which is a matter of documentation as well. Where the entities engaging in this, and Paul Leon is very much aware of it. Paul Leon's going to prison while I'm subject to terrorism by helicopter in the city of Ontario, where he is a domestic terrorist, not a mayor. All right, and it's the same with Aquanetta Warren. And it's the same with every other gang stalker that's engaging in terrorism because they're not ignorant about what the city police are doing with the people of the state under things like a fake sun, where the entities engaging in that blatant public nuisance of stalking by helicopter because I'm the one that prosecuted all of them. All right. And this is speaking to the entity that planned to murder me. And that includes Mike LORENZ. And he's going to prison for that. He is unapologetic in planning to murder me and trying to murder and still harassing and stalking me by helicopter, which he's fully aware of. Still spending a lot of money that he doesn't even have. They're in the deficit. Also regarding spending all the money that they were paid to keep me under surveillance. And they're paying it all back and they're going to prison. Poor. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:35 p.m. What you're going to hone in on is because here. These demons right here with the fake suns going all around, and they've engaged in what is an ongoing provision of a body of evidence regarding repeatedly engaging in criminal summoning, engaging in what is kidnapping, engaging in what is harassment, engaging in what is criminal defamation. The demons at the Ovid Family Community Library, just like any other venue that engaged in kidnapping, but Ovid Family Community Library is engaged in what is years of criminal facilitation with the people of the state. 7 Frank Bob Thomas 703. This is an old demon that's stalking with the police department. Not traffic, surveillance. 7FBT 703 with the Marine Corps. Murderers that go into the military to get away with killing people. And this is why he's gang stalking me. He's a psychopath and he's a demon-possessed one. This is the Ontario Police Department's handiwork. Okay, they're not honorable. They're serial killers and they're vagina monitors. Stalking on the roads and the highways. And there's a demon sitting next to him in the vehicle. They're psychos. This is the entity that's gang stalking together. This is the entity that's going to have no police department, no fire department. They're not going to have any, Paul Leon's not sitting in office, but they're not going to have any position. They're not going to have any retirement. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that because they're angry. Merely angry because you are still going to prison. You're still going to prison. And all the companies gang stalking me with the city of Ontario, I'm prosecuting them as well. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 6:36 p.m. and the demons at the Ovid Family Community Library are going to prison. And they're going to prison with regard to what is mandated under federal law. All of the ways in which they've engaged in what is torture and harassment and waging false allegations, and including while I engage in what is another campaign documenting them throughout what is San Bernardino County, going to other cities, showing you how much of a liar the demons like Mickey and the demons like Abby and these gang stalking librarians. And guess what? They're going from stalking in a library around book stacks to going to federal prison. And they can sit around and think about and obsess over me all day long. This is P.O.C. because that's the reality. They're going to prison. I have them documented, gang stalking me for years with these demons that forget about that video document. This evidence is going against these demons in here. They're going to prison. P.O.C. They're lying on me and engaging in harassment, and they're going to federal prison for it, right along with Mike LORENZ. P.O.C. Listen to that audible activity. That's UPS that is stalking and not engaging in any takeoff. The audible activity is amplification. And this is where I'm located at the Ontario Senior Center. This is the airlines that are stalking with the people and stalking where the entity covered up the fake sun, because I came from Fontana to Ontario, where the evidence shows the fake sun remains here, where the people of the state are stalking with the airport, stalking where the Ontario Police Department are stalking as well. This is again relevant to Alan D. WAPNER, O.T. Falcotti, Mike Lorenz, these terrorists that are stalking using commercial airline companies, using helicopters. That's not a police department that's engaging in stalking. And these are all the means whereby the city of Ontario is also going to be gutted out, stripped of these companies, the means of terrorism. This is P.O.C. The entity is also doing so with regard to what is stalking where I'm located. On the opposite side, like I pointed out on video at the City Hall, the entrance is where Southwest Airlines and Alaska Airlines, neither of which have any takeoffs or destinations hovering over this location, nor hovering over the Ontario City Hall. This is where the entity is on this side, flying over this location, which is different. If they were flying where they were before, then I would be able to see it over this roof, this senior center. They're stalking where I'm located, my positioning specific to my position, and that is also clearly shown because where the airport is, there's none of the audible activity that you hear, like UPS is taking off. These are unintelligent demons who are stalking in planes that have never been critiqued before, where there's no checks regarding the criminal activity. There's no checks because this is an entirely corrupt state and an entirely corrupt city, an entirely corrupt county. And that's why, but this is a common sense breakdown about also that which is not published on the website. The people of the state are gang stalking in Fontana, just like they are in Ontario. And you're looking at the planes that are hovering in Fontana as though they're going to land at the airport in Ontario. But that's not the case. Why they will be hovering through the city of Fontana. And they're doing so under that fake sun. The same pattern of conduct by the demons in Ontario. All right, where the entity is deviating from an airport and then hovering throughout the city, which is irreconcilable with the location of the airport and where takeoffs and landings are conducted. This is where the entities engage in that. And this is the entity that's sloppy, the entity that's openly admitting that they're engaged in vagina monitoring, that they're engaged in kidnapping, murders, and that they're engaged in what is stalking as a population. And I want to be clear that this is what an entity is doing while they are going to prison. This is the same population engaged in criminal summoning. This is the entity that's engaging in what is conspicuous surveillance, federal stalking on the venue of the internet under the fake sun, which is speaking to demons who are no longer cloaked as anything other than demons who are stalkers, and they're doing so regarding this country using devices. This is what companies like UPS are engaging in, and UPS is going to be federally prosecuted, engaging in that while they are literally, I just took images and seconds later the entity stalking with another plane. That's the entity that's exhibiting that same mental illness. That's what Alaska Airlines and Southwest Airlines did in the video that I captured at the Ontario City Hall, which is serving to prosecute Paul Leon. The Ontario Police Department stalking me by helicopter, by flying over in circles and following me from B Street, which is serving to prosecute Paul Leon. The gang stalking airlines that are flying over the Ontario Civic Center with the people of the state that are gang stalking with them, which is serving to prosecute Paul Leon. But I want to make sure that this is clear. This is what I'm documenting. This is nothing other than an entity that is hostile losers, and what they've lost is their freedom. What they've lost is what they thought was going to be a jackpot regarding money, because these are cold-blooded serial killers. These are not humans. These are demon-possessed people. So you're talking about the absence of any conscience, and you're also looking at now what is the unadulterated blatant stalking by a police department that has falsely spoken on my name, my character, who I am, and what happened to me. And then you're going to contrast that with this blatant upfront stalking in helicopter and ongoing overt terrorism, okay? While that entity is engaging in that, and they're going to prison for lying on my character. They're going to prison for kidnapping. They're going to prison for facilitating it. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and they're holding babies that are demons. They're engaging in stalking with children. It's not cute, and it's also unlawful. And they're holding up these children while you're mindful of the violence that they're simultaneously engaging in the same video. The demon possessed give birth to the dead that are gang stalking, and that's what you're aware of. These are the demons that are under a fake sun. That is not adorable. It's criminal stalking. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:55 p.m. This is also psychopathic pacing amongst the demon possessed and the mentally ill that are under the age of majority as well. And they are gang stalking with children in the city of Ontario, which is also a basis to remove a terrorist such as Paul Leon. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:55 p.m. At the Ovid Family Community Library, this is Stalking by the Ontario International Airport and the commercial airline companies who are subject to what is the ongoing federal RICO case, serving to prosecute, shut down the airport, prosecute each airline company, and also a basis of removing them from existence. This is companies that are terrorists, that are a threat to national security as well, prosecuting them and also removing them from existence. It's 7:06 p.m. The entity is gang stalking, and the entity is doing so pursuant to criminal surveillance by the airline companies that are keeping me under surveillance and simultaneously maintaining what are flights to destinations. The entity that's stalking me with these commercial airline companies are not the flights that are published on the website. So the entity is specifically targeting me where I'm located, which is also proven by virtue of the planes being over here at that elevation, at that volume level, at the frequency that I'm documenting in the specific environment. It is currently 7:06 p.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the flight that is just as ongoing documentation, just making diligent note. Southwest Airlines is the flight that is published for 7:15 p.m. and that's flight number WN 3680 to Sacramento. Again, none of these are flights or any sort of takeoff or landing that would occur over the Ontario City Hall, Ovid Library, the Senior Citizen Complex. This is obvious, but I want to document the entity has a flight over here stalking me, engaging in the public nuisance, which is also where the Ontario Police Department are stalking, and it's where the entity is keeping the specific environment, and it's where the people of the state, the domestic terrorists that are being prosecuted, it's where they're stalking. And furtherance of murder. These are companies stalking in furtherance of murder. They're doing so, engaging in public corruption, and there are no flights scheduled right now, so that's just ongoing corroborating evidence. It's additional evidence. Southwest at 7:15 p.m. is engaged in that. Southwest maintains ongoing planes to stalk me, and Southwest also collects money, makes money for maintaining flights to destinations. And Southwest Airlines is going to be prosecuted for what is that federal RICO case that it's engaging in terrorism as a corrupt company in the U.S., which is a threat to American citizens. And Southwest Airlines is an enemy to the United States. This is P.O.C. It's 7:08 p.m.
Oopsie.
Alrighty, the entity engaging in criminal summoning at the moment that I'm documenting the people of the state, which is where they're also stalking right here by plane. The entity is stalking City of Ontario sound sirens. That's American Medical Response. There's no takeoff. This is the entity that's blatantly stalking, and I'm going to blatantly document the people. They're going to be prosecuted for criminal summoning, and they're going to be prosecuted for stalking. And this demon over here, he's walking in an alley. He's walking in front of me, stalking in the path, on behalf of the government that's using their sirens as I'm documenting the people of the state. And they're over here flying over B Street and Laurel, flying over my head. The demons are stalking an emergency vehicle, sounding their sirens as I document. The following license plates are going to be federally prosecuted for conspiracy to murder with the City of Ontario, and they're doing so with impunity. And they're doing so with the Ontario Police, who are being disbanded, and they're going to prison under all circumstances. The people of the state are going to be prosecuted as terrorists. License 76413 Victor 3. This is P.O.C. All right, the license plates in this video are captured. They're going to be shared to the Google Drive and or published in the videos that I share to the playlist entitled "The Prosecution of the People of the State" with the terrorist leader Paul Leon, because of the prosecution of the City of Ontario. But nonetheless, these license plates that I'm capturing are visible with regard to the record of the terrorists that are engaging in the pattern of conduct that are going to be prosecuted, that are targeting me right now, stalking as a population with the entity that's sounding sirens, using the fire trucks, ambulances, police vehicles while they're stalking me going from the library up towards Stater Brothers, where the entity is stalking now at B Street and Laurel, and is stalking by flying over that Stater Brothers parking lot. All right, this is the entity that is engaged in that pattern of conduct. They're in all the buildings, they're on the roads and the highways, stalking obsessively. And I'm documenting the license plates regarding these gang members that are together, stalking and harassing because they are being prosecuted. And this is also why the entity is going to be federally prosecuted regarding all areas of state and federal law to prosecute a population of terrorists like those in Ontario, where the entity is going to be prosecuted, and that criminal record regarding terrorists that are going to be subject to layers of laws in order to
protect the American public, and also to prosecute terrorists who are not going to retrieve benefits from the government, any sort of assistance, and making sure that they are clearly identified as terrorists as a matter of public record. This is P.O.C. This is the city of Ontario that's gang stalking with the people of the state. All right, and this is the parking lot that I'm documenting, the license plates. This is where the entity is stalking by flying over that parking lot, and everybody inside of all the venues over here, all the venues, period, are engaged in that pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. This is gang stalking. All right, the entity is indeed engaged in criminal summoning. I want to document that. It's 7:57 p.m. Criminal summoning at the moment that I'm documenting the license plate that is parked at C Street and Euclid. As I take a picture of that, the people of the state engaging in sexual assault and battery, you document one demon, another demon is already behind you to engage in what is ongoing sexual violence. This is what an entity is doing on an ongoing basis. These are gang members, and they are doing this while they are stalking and further into murdering somebody. So this is what an entity is doing while they're anticipating what is worldwide exposure and a prosecution, literally going to prison. Okay, so this is what the entity is deciding to do, and this is when they've already been federally prosecuted. So this is an entity that's engaged in that criminal activity while they are witnessing their real-time engagement and being exposed as terrorists. License plate 9NYL436, sexual assault and battery. P.O.C. at what is B Street and Laurel, where the entity is stalking by planes, and doing so with impunity. These are sex offenders. These are terrorists. They do not care that they're getting deported. They don't care that they're getting being removed from office. This is Paul Leon's engagement in what is expressing impunity with regard to being an enemy of the United States and not slowing down in terrorism. License 9 Sam Mary Zebra 953. Stalking. All right, sexual assault and battery together. Co-conspirators of murder, and doing so on behalf of the government. All right, sex offenders that are engaged in relentless efforts of stalking, and those are the demons of the Ontario police that use helicopter, and the entity stalking by planes and helicopters is surrounding the entire entity with evidence of criminal monitoring. This is P.O.C. and the license plates will be visible on my website. This is the POC.wordpress.com, and on the YouTube platform at this is the P.O.C. At this is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:59 p.m. This is Casa de la Riva, while the entity, the identification of targeting flying over the top of the target individual's head, which is a threat to your life. Casa de la Riva is gang stalking. This is P.O.C. This is all relevant positioning, and they are monitoring. They're in relevant position while the entity is maintaining surveillance. They don't have to come outside. The entity is always relying on, we're not saying anything to you. We're not getting up. We're not outside with our phone in our hands and looking. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct, and that's why the specific environment, including the government stalking. Okay, and this is relevant to the area using the emergency vehicles, engaging criminal summoning as I'm documenting the people of the state. And all the license plates that I'm gathering, this entire neighborhood is sharing in that pattern of conduct. This is Ponde Vida. All right, and this is the entity that's gang stalking at this is B Street. B Street. P.O.C. It is Casa de la Riva. These are venues that are they're not going to exist after I'm done with Ontario. It's 8 p.m. This city is remaining due to stolen money. They're engaged in gentrification based on stolen funds. Not only is all of this not going to continue, but the entity is going to come up with I'm being paid with interest, while the entity's stalking me and flying over my head with planes and helicopters and stalking as a population. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and I want to be clear, I'm at the intersection of B Street and Palm. Okay, so following as I go, flying over the top of my head. All right, that's the government that likes to engage in communicating a threat. The reason why this is being documented, because the people of the state are being prosecuted at the same time. They're one entity together. Their gang conduct is being documented detail by detail, and the entity is also doing so while they are going to be sentenced to prison. And so this is why I'm getting every detail. You're going to prison, and you are going to be crying. Cares. You're going to prison, and you're not getting out. License plate. This is the entity that flew over the top of my head, 9HET210, stalking an engineer light. That's P.O.C. All right. Don't forget what Ontario Police is doing, having a field day stalking by helicopter. That's the same entity. It's ceaselessly underway. 9HET, the license plate that I'm reading, stalking with the state. It is currently 8:02 p.m. License plate, stalking with the state. License 87962 Kelly 4. Doing so at B Street. stalking. That they're flying. They are driving on all of the streets, going in all directions. That they're pacing. License 9 Kelly Apple Bob 148. License 4 Mary Paul George 321. They're living over here in these government subsidized homes. They cannot afford to pay their rent. They do not make enough money to take care of themselves and the children that they have, and they're going to exist in that manner without any government assistance. These are people that are going to be homeless. License plate 5 Zebra Henry Larry 827. They are gang stalking with the government that's maintaining commercial planes, maintaining smaller planes flying over the top of my head, stalking without an abandon, doing so with blatant disregard for the fact that it's being documented, an American citizen that has the power to make sure that everybody in that city is going to suffer the consequences, economic and punitive, otherwise under criminal law, with regard to the pattern of conduct. Those that can't afford to pay their rent, they still won't be able to pay their rent, and they're going to be homeless as a result because the government's not protecting them or supporting them. 87962 Kelly Forest crossing path again. Doing so, meeting me at the intersection where Rock Church is located, 325 B Street. Stalking. 8 Xavier Tom Frank 910, and the entire neighborhood is being documented. While the entity is stalking one license plate after another, one plane after another, one helicopter after, the entire city is being documented. While I read one license plate, that's the entity. That's just with regard to where I'm at, the zone of relevant positioning around me, the entire city, as I've already shown how the pattern of conduct operates, which is why I can go to a whole other city where the sun is not absent, which is what it would be if Ontario wasn't gang stalking. The entire city is being prosecuted. You're getting funds from the government to pay for food. You're getting funds to pay for your rent. You're getting funds to pay for your mortgage or some sort of loan to help. You will not be getting it anymore, and I'm not playing. This is the entity. That's exactly what's going to happen. No terrorist is getting any government support. No terrorist is getting welfare. No terrorist is getting food stamps. No terrorist is getting any sort of government support at all. You're going to get the exact opposite. And if you're going to prison, it's going to be that which you're going to face whenever you get released. Okay, it's your problem. You're a terrorist. License 5 Victor Apple Nancy 304, and these are terrorists that have disregard for the lives of other people, and they're going to be responsible for taking care of themselves and supporting themselves, not living off of the government. There are resources that the government will more responsibly and more prudently spend on people and programs and the provision of resources to American citizens that are upright, that are abiding by the law, that are not engaging in that are not terrorists, and that are not supporting and funding terrorism. The city of Ontario is going to be choked out. Right? It's going to be choked to death, in other words, with regard to supporting terrorists. They're not going to be supported under any circumstances. This is the P.O.C., and moving away isn't going to help. It's going on your record, and you will not be getting government support in any state in this country. License 8 CZZ 962, license 6 UYB 653. This is the P.O.C. Molesting with impossible light activity in the same neighborhood. License VST 484C. I documented that license plate before. They're going to be met with the consequences. They're engaged in serial stalking. It's a red little hatchback vehicle that with a white license plate with black lettering. It looks like it's one of those Baja license plates. This demon's engaged in molestation with impossible light because my shadow would not appear at a distance away from me on the opposite side of the parking lot of the demon's venue, Vol's Church. That's the demon that's stalking, and this is the entity that is together, speaking to the fact that they don't mind that they're not going to be able to put foods in the mouths of their demon-possessed kids. And it's not the government's problem, and the government will not be supporting any terrorists or any terrorist children. This is the entity that has brought these things on themselves. You're being deported also if you're an immigrant. You definitely will not be getting any support. In fact, you're going to be on the next thing, smoking out of this country. Terrorists are going to be treated in the cutthroat manner that they've been treating American citizens. And as I've been documenting, because this is a prosecution that's already complete, you're looking at what is absolutely appropriate legislation and prosecution regarding those that are enemies to this country. License 9XPG 595. That's exactly why the entity is maintaining plane activity and helicopter activity and stalking on the roads and the highways throughout this neighborhood, because the entire neighborhood is indeed gang stalking. License 4XUU392. And I just want to be clear, if you actually cared about your children, then you wouldn't expose them to that. And that's the same thing for Mike LORENZ. It's the same logic. But I just want to be clear, it's not the government's concern to take care of some terrorist children. The terrorists don't even care about their own children. Because if they did, you wouldn't create the circumstance. And when you suspected it, you would have done what was de-escalating it, not increasing it, not still stalking after you've already been prosecuted and basically sentenced on the internet. Because what I said is happening is exactly what's going to happen. 9XGN475. No federal government is going to have any regard for terrorist children. In fact, they're treated and considered as a threat. And I've already documented the demon-possessed, the people of the state's minor children, gang stalking me with Mike LORENZ and Michael GERKEN and Alan D. WAPNER and these terrorist companies that are gang stalking with commercial airline planes. They are under no circumstances viewed as something that is to be taken care of distinct or a reason whereby the people of the state getting any support from the government. To the contrary. I've shown you the pattern of conduct over and under majority, and they are engaging in the pattern of conduct, and that's exactly what they are reaping. You will be getting absolutely zero support, and that's exactly what the law calls for. You're a terrorist and you're an enemy, and the people of the state are going to experience, and the world is going to experience, the United States treating those that are enemies here in this country as the enemies that they are. They're not getting a dollar. You're not getting a dime. You need the government to help you prepare for a job interview. You need the government assistance to buy you your outfit for your interview, to help you prepare your resume. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. Go to your auntie or something, okay? Because the government's not paying for these programs for terrorists. They're going to be removed from the city of Ontario. The city of Ontario has been proven to be engaging in funding terrorism. Any and everything that they claim that they're using the money for, it is simultaneously serving to gang stalk me. While they're gassing up police vehicles and helicopters stalking like the Ontario Police Show, the entity is going to be, and you can thank Mike LORENZ for it when you thought you had a solid case for stalking with the police without any consequence. And to the contrary, you're going to prison for that. Not only that, if whenever you get out of prison, you will be getting zero assistance because I guarantee you can't pay your rent either while you're out here gang stalking. And you will not be getting any support from the government. There is no time limit either for after 10 years of being separate. No, you're a terrorist. You're getting zero support. And that's not going to change regardless of who's in office. By the way, that's not going to change. That's not what this is going to be. You're a terrorist, and terrorists will not be receiving any government assistance with the established fact of what is domestic terrorism in the U.S. You will be getting zero support. Mike LORENZ, his wife is going to need food stamps, and she's not getting it. She's not getting a dime. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:10 p.m.
This is who Stater Brothers, including Isaiah, are stalking me with. All the pictures of the demons in the store, they're monitoring under the fake moon. And this is what Mike LORENZ thinks is prudent to do as I upload the evidence on the internet. And the people of the state are going to prison. I'm going to own Stater Brothers when I'm done with them. This is P.O.C. And this is where the airport is stalking with them while they're pacing around inside of the grocery store. The fake moon is over me. This is where the entity is monitoring what I'm uploading. They are stalking me in a grocery store. They are demons that are stalking with light. They are not going to be collecting any welfare. No one is going to cry for homeless terrorists in the United States either. This is P.O.C. Here is more video of the Ontario Police engaged in ongoing terrorism while I am publishing the evidence regarding Isaiah and Amber, who are gang stalking me with the people of the state, engaged in repeated sexual assault and battery through the hundreds of demons that are gang stalking at Stater Brothers, doing so while the entity is stalking by the Ontario International Airport. And my video and images are showing how, as I remain right here, the Ontario Police keep returning and flying in circles around me, which is the entity's pattern of conduct, doing so as I return to Ontario, getting off of Omnitrans today, doing so while I am at the Ovid Family Community Library. This entity is engaging what is stalking me, and Amber is threatening my life, and Isaiah is threatening my life. David Quinones, who's a documented gang stalker, all of the employees at Stater Brothers, the Ontario Village Shopping Center, the people of the state that are gang stalking with the Ontario Police are threatening my life, and I will federally prosecute Stater Brothers in particular that's engaging in what is impossible light activity, molesting and terrorizing while the demons are stalking me by helicopter. Stater Brothers is going to Stater Brothers is going to compensate for what Mike LORENZ is doing, which Stater Brothers is doing in concert with that agency, despite the fact that I'm prosecuting Stater Brothers for it. Mike LORENZ is already going to prison. The people of the state are being prosecuted. Amber and Isaiah are subject to prison. This is P.O.C. It's 10:39 p.m. This is relevant for why the people are going to prison, because they are responsible for the criminal conduct that they share in with the police, who engage in ongoing ceaseless stalking in these psychopathic manners, while you also document the co-defendant, the people. And in turn, the people are going to prison. I'm going to continue to document because Amber and Isaiah are going to prison. They're not the only ones, but those are the ones at the registers. Amber's name is on my receipt. Isaiah is captured in the image at the register, gang stalking with the people, and they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:39 p.m. where the Ontario police are still gang stalking, and as you can see from the light activity, so is Kings Inc. Alrighty, this is the evidence that's putting Amber and Isaiah in prison. They're gang stalking me, maliciously engaged in conspicuous surveillance with the city of Ontario that's engaged in surveillance through Amber and Isaiah that are employed at Stater Brothers. Amber's name is on my receipt. She is engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct by virtue of being at the venue. And so is Isaiah, who's captured in the image that I to the Google Drive, and I'm also publishing on X. And as I'm publishing this, the Ontario police, pursuant to the pattern of conduct, in concert with Amber and Isaiah, who are hostile to being documented, are stalking me together in furtherance of psychological torture, sexual violence, while these demons are engaged in what is molestation. In furtherance of murder, they're going to prison. Amber and Isaiah are going to prison. They're not just driving off and there's no consequence, not just flying in circles with no consequence. They're going to prison, and Amber and Isaiah are not the only ones going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. This is the evidence that's going to put people like Isaiah and Amber in federal prison. This is documentation of impunity and malice, and this is an ongoing determination to commit murder. This is what the Ontario police were doing at the Ontario Town Square. This is what the Fontana Police Department are sharing in as well. And the necessary mandated consequence is prison. This is P.O.C. and that's exactly where Mike LORENZ is going. That's exactly where the people of the state, such as including Amber and Isaiah, are going. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. I'm going to continue documenting because the people of the state are going to federal prison while they're gang stalking me with this agency, and this is how you're going to hold domestic terrorists like the people of the state accountable under the law, where they're stalking with the police. And this is the end of the gang stalking system. They're going to federal prison, and so are the people of the state. P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing. This is the Ontario Police at what is 10:52 p.m. in concert with they're inside of the venue gang stalking. They're profiting, meaning they are engaging in the business of tattoos, where they're engaging what is accumulating pertaining to their business while they're simultaneously gang stalking with the Ontario police, who's flying over the venue where they're at. They're monitoring me simultaneously, and they're engaging in the pattern of conduct, and the Ontario police are continuously pacing. This is the same Ontario Center, and this is documentation of Stater Brothers who are engaged in that pattern of conduct, and this is what they were engaging in the entire time while I was in there, while the people of the state were engaging in terrorism, stalking me in the grocery store, stalking while the employees are sharing in that pattern of psychopathic, sexually violent, monitoring my vagina, and doing so while utilizing helicopters and airplanes. And the Ontario International Airport is so engaged in that they're doing so outside of what's published online. This is mental illness while the entity is stalking with light. This isn't traffic. This demon stalking with light is an engineer light. That demon stalking with light, including through the vehicle itself. This is P.O.C. and they're doing so while the Ontario police are stalking, flying over the venue where you saw in the previous video, the fake moon is right over my head. They're all targeting, including with the Ontario police, and the people at the state are going to prison. It is currently 10:53 p.m.